Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. This is Luke Johnson for Know Your Poker. Today we are diving into episode number 2 of this high state review featuring Owen and Linus. Hope you enjoy. Alright, jumping into the second part of these hands, this was the last hand of the last video. Ace 5, Linus opens 110 effective. This is a high frequency, small sizing board. Big raise, about 70%, give or take. Linus will only call here, no re-raises. It's going to be a big sizing from Owen here. You've stated your claim that you've got a very good hand on the flop, and the turn's pretty good for you, so we're going to see, I think, just 5k here, because bigger is a bit too big and smaller is a bit too small. So yeah, 5k seems good, or check, obviously. Okay, bet. Yeah, 5k is the only sizing you can use in my mind. And the only river sizing is all in here. It really doesn't make sense to carve out a small sizing when you've told Linus that you're very polarized and nothing changes on the river. All in, Linus will be calling this hand, unsurprisingly. Bluffs for Owen can be hands like Deuce 3, Deuce 5, actually seem really nice bluffs. Blocking the straight, obviously, and some two pairs, and a set of deuces, deuces with a heart, can call flop. And other than that, maybe some 5-6 with a heart, I think is okay to go in this line. 5-6 with one heart, check raise flop, turn the nut shot to the 3, and then on the jack, I think you can find some of these one heart bluffs as well. So I think Deuce 3, Deuce 5, 5-6. You don't have to find infinite amount of bluffs here because your value range is pretty thin. So yeah, I think your value range is just Ace 4 plus here. And yeah, it's just one of those hands. 5 deuce diamonds, makes sense. Next hand. Open call, 105 effective. Big bet board for Linus around B70. You don't want to go too big because there are two straights out there, which Owen does have. At the same time, I don't think small makes too much sense. You can go half pot if you want to. I think half or 2/3 are good here. He goes 2/3. 72% of the pots. Really nice barreling card for Linus here. Cool. So I would have gone 100%, but that's because I play one sizing here. Linus is definitely having a second sizing. I think 150 only is far too rich. So I'm guessing he's going to have that 72% option and then also this 150. Yeah. This hand is going to be going all in every time, unsurprisingly. I think in these spots, Owen's bluff catching range is very intuitive. It's just how often do you want to call it? Usually when you're bluff catching, it's a question of what hands do I find and how often do I call. In this case, you just have a bunch of these Jack 10, Queen 10, 10, 9. Maybe some hands like Queen 8 occasionally as well. So yeah, I think it's a very clear hand selection, but then it's just how often do you want to do it. Against Linus, I think you can choose to do it pretty often. That's not a way of me saying he's over bluffing, but he definitely will find an adequate amount of bluffs compared to a lower stake player. Owen has one of those hands, Queen 10, the best one to have, obviously. Even blocking some of the Ace Queen, which the Jack 10 wouldn't be, blocking Ace Jack. Okay, Queen Jack 3 two-tone a bit deeper. I would typically expect a big sizing here. I go around 60% on this board. I don't know what Linus does in these situations. He goes with a small sizing. Okay, I would have personally sized up a bit on this board. 6-5 is a great hand to use. On the turn as well, you can sometimes find. It's not a mandatory find, but you can sometimes c-bet. B70 makes sense. Yeah, okay. So Linus will have a B70 and a overbet. So he's going to go around either $2,600 or around 5.4k. If I were to guess, I think he's going to be going with a 5.4k. I guess you could also go pot as well. But I don't like pot as much because you obviously want to have a small sizing here. I say a small sizing, that B70. So pot is a bit awkward, it's a bit in the middle here, because you have a nut flush advantage as well. So I think you want to have, yeah, I don't think he's going to find pot. I think he's going to go 5,400, let's see. 5,800, okay. So that's just 150, fine. Owen has a flush. Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Nice hand from both. 120 effective. You can rip ace queen if you want to here sometimes. Cause this time. Leads. I don't like that play. Could be wrong. This is a good play-ish if this is a 6-max game, like let's say you're big blind or small blind versus the button 4-bets. Queen high boards are those notoriously bad boards for the PFR. In heads up, it's not that much the case because Linus actually has a bunch of like queen deuce, queen 3, queen 4, queen 5 suited, queen jack offsuit, queen 10 offsuit. So the only hands that Prodigy has that Linus doesn't have is king queen. I'm going to go ahead and say that this is not a play. Could be wrong. Feel free to prove me wrong and use a wizard or something. If it's a play, it can't be much of a play. It really can't be much of a play. Because queen 9 deuce, it can't be that bad of a board, at least in my opinion. Small raise makes sense. Shove makes sense. Okay, what does Linus have? Ace 9. Yeah, unlucky. You even have the 9 of clubs here blocking the queen 9 suited, which Owen does have. Actually, that's another hand that Owen has that Linus doesn't have. Queen 9 suited, Linus would never be 4-betting, but Prodigy would be mixing a 3-bet and then pure calling the 4-bet. So, yeah, maybe this leads a bit better than I thought. But I'm still going to go ahead and say that it cannot be much of a frequent play, with range at least. Maybe hand does more, obviously. This ends up being kind of a cooler in a way. You don't have to raise the flop in Linus's shoes, but I think it's fine. I think it's totally fine here to raise. And then versus the shove, you definitely cannot fold. Owen does scoop 2 pots here. Okay, 4-bet call. So 7-4 can be 4-bet. You don't want to 4-bet a hand like 7-5 or 7-6 or 7-8, but 7-4 can. It's just these double gappers. So even 6-3, believe it or not, 6-3, 7-4, 8-5, 9-6 can all do some 4-betting. 10-6 as well, 3 gapper can 4-bet. It's just kind of the heuristic that I've learned from heads up 4-bets. You don't typically do the really connected ones, but yeah, these kind of semi-connected ones you can. Jack high boards. Okay, this is not a range bets. Actually, 7-4 suited seems like an okay hand to check some of the time. If he's going to bet, he's going to go around quarter pot, so like 5-1 here. Sorry, 2-6. Checks. Okay, nice. I'm happy to see that. Linus is going to be very polarized. He's going to, I'm guessing, go half or 2/3. In either case, he's going to be very, very polarized. This is obviously Owen's card here. I don't mind going for double check with 7-4 here. 2 reasons. Firstly, you have quite bad blockers here to Linus's folding range because you block pocket 4s, pocket 7s that are going to be in Linus's range to check fold turn every time. And secondly, you have a really clean bluff on the river as well, because if the river comes a random 6, let's say, Linus has a bunch of check folds. He will check fold more than MDF suggests. So I think some players may be a bit short-sighted here and think, oh, I want to bluff the turn now and take down the pots, without thinking about the fact that a check will allow them to bluff the river very effectively too. So if I was in Owen's shoes here, I would mostly play a check. And I think if I was in Owen's shoes, I would pure check just because my own strategy, I like doing that. Let's see what he does. Betting is by no means bad. Oh, wait, he does check. I'm very happy to see that. And now he has a call or a raise. Wow, he raises. Yeah, makes a lot of sense here. Sick one. Jack 10. Nice line. Yeah. In a really weird way. No, never mind. I was going to say like the Jack 10 is almost better than the King 10, but that's just not true. Why I was saying that is that you block the pocket jacks, which is we saw that in the first hand of the first video. But yeah, I think Linus's call is pretty okay. When the line's gone one thing I did miss. Linus's bet is very, very thin. This is a extremely, extremely thin bet for 2/3, I think, or 3/4. I think this is a way of Linus saying that he doesn't respect Owen's check back range here. This seems very, very thin because you're sitting there with Queen Jack, Ace Jack, King 6, King 7. Oh, well, King 7's two pairs, but you're sitting there with a lot of better hands here. Jack X is very middling. So I think Linus is saying to Owen, okay, look, Owen, I know that you check back your aces. I know that you check back your pocket jacks. I know that you check back your Jack 5 of spades that you 4-bet sometimes, but I don't believe you check back your Rag King 10 on the turn when it turns top pair. So I think he's implying that Owen has the really nutted portion of his check back range, but not the middling, because otherwise this bet seems far too thin. So, I mean, that's my take on this. I could be wrong. Maybe the bet's fine, but that's my interpretation. I think this bet's very thin from Linus for the bet sizing. The bet itself, the choice 2-bet's okay, but the sizing's far too rich. He gets max rewarded as well, with Owen unfortunately rivering the pair and shoving. I do think Owen's line's very, very good, but if he doesn't play the other parts of his range well, then it can be problematic. Wow, the Jack 5 of spades, I just said this hand. Is he going to 4-bet now? That'd be quite poetic. He does 4-bet, okay, cool. They are 25, 150 effective, give or take. Is that right? Yeah, a bit shy, a bit less than 150. This is similar to the last hand here. Yeah, like, wow, so cool. This is not a range bet board, and Jack 5 of spades, 7-4 of hearts makes sense to sometimes check. They're not always checking, I'm sure, but we just run into checks these times. Owen needs to polarize. Linus needs to go small or check here, like B25, B30, B40, maybe. Definitely not bigger than B40 in my opinion. B30. Small raise. Wow, very small raise here. So 7-5, 15, 25. He's calling 4. This is like a quarter pot raise, I think. I think he gives Linus 6-1. No, he gives Linus 5-1. Which is quarter pot. So yeah, quarter pot raise and turn. I think both players play the hand fine. Ultimately, Jack 5 is not always going to be a reopen. I think you can check twice, but I think that's just fancy play syndrome. You probably should just bet always. Owen's small raise makes a lot of sense here. I'm not going to go into why that happens because it's like kind of a fancy heuristic with check raising and 4-bet pots. But it kind of stems from the idea that you bet all your more vulnerable hands on the turn in Owen's shoes for value, like you bet your king queens and things. So your check raising range becomes a lot more invulnerable and you typically raise small. But there's certain times to do it and not to do it. Anyway, we go into the river and your only sizing here is all in. There's nothing else you can do. Well, you can check. He does go for it. All right, what do you have, Owen? $60k pot, aces. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Case in point, by the way, I was speaking about those more invulnerable hands with value, aces with a spade. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think both players play the hand very well. Aces gets cracked, unfortunately, but yeah, I think both players played very, very well. 100 effective here. 2/3 or check, or half pot or check. Goes 2/3. Doesn't matter what you do here, between 2/3 and half. Owen can raise sometimes. Chooses to call. Linus will have a... I don't know what he wants to do here. If I were to guess, I would say he wants to split and go 1700 and 3600. Okay, no, wrong. He goes pot in the middle. I would go pot for what it's worth, but I thought Linus would play two sizes here. When he goes pot, he's saying he doesn't have another sizing. But I'm a bit surprised he did that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Owen check raises. Wow, that's so nice. Is that really a play? 3 into 5, 12 into 12, 10-5 with redraw blocking the nuts. I don't know if that's a play. In theory, I'm saying. I think it probably is. It's a very good play. Or at least like it's a thinking man's play, if you see what I mean. Where it's definitely not the intuitive option. Similar to Linus's ace 8 in the first video. a thinking man's play doesn't necessarily mean it's a good play. Linus's ace-8 I really liked from the first video. This one, I think it's also good, actually. Yeah, I side with Owen here. Really nice play. Wouldn't find this myself. Yep, call off. Don't make this play at 500 an L, where if you get shoved into, you have to fold. But make the play at a much higher stake, where Linus will be 3-betting ace-3 sometimes, because he's that much of a sicko. 6-3. Wow, it goes so well for Owen here. He even has the 5 blocked as well. And he even scoops the 40k pot. Nice hand.